So I want to introduce to you Pankaj Sharma. He's here to do our talk today. Pankaj,
I thought you were going to say something about this. That's good, that's good. Hi, my name is Pankaj. I'm a recovering spiritual addict. It's good to be here. It's really great to see my old friend, Katria, Stephen Wise. I was thinking, I don't do this often. And on the way coming here, a couple days prior to speaking, I started to think about what I'm going to talk about, And so years ago, I used to get a few key points of this is what you're going to talk about, and I kind of just will elaborate on those points. The last few years, I get nothing. And so I was thinking about last year when I came here, and maybe the year before, the process I go through in coming here, and how it is. Sunday morning, I wake up, still don't have a clue. I drive for an hour from Pennsylvania, where I live, to over the bridge in Jersey here. Still don't have a clue. A part of me is really starting to freak out at this point, driving over the bridge. And I gave them some kind of topic, but they didn't really write about it anyway, so so it's that's ephemeral. And then I get here and I'm just praying really hard and meditating, and still a big part of me is trusting the process, and the other part is freaking out, right? And I said, this time I don't want to torture myself. I'm not freaking out. I'm not going to put myself through that Sunday morning torture. So I'm actually going to think about a topic and actually prepare. That didn't work. But in that process, I thought about what would I say to myself, the 20-year-old that entered this teaching. And I thought about that a little bit, and I'm like, well, I wouldn't tell him anything because I don't want to mess up his process. Because all the twists and turns of the journey, the peaks and the valleys, everything was important. Everything was, so I didn't want, there was nothing really, there's some key things I will share, but there was nothing I would say, I realized after some contemplation of that, I would not, I just leave that guy alone, and let him go through his thing, and go through his journey. And then I thought, well, what if this was the last talk I ever gave at CCL? What would I say then? And what was I going to say about that? Forget. Must not have been that important. So the other thing that always the other scapegoat that I have is I just come and meditate, because then I don't have to prepare a talk. We can just do the meditation. The meditation kind of guides itself, and And reality is, meditation is more important or powerful for me because it's this energetic, right? And talking gets in the way. You can talk all day about stuff, but it's important, it serves its purpose, but the experience is much more important. And so, and looking back, but this morning as I was driving here, I was looking back at my struggles in life, as somebody came into the teaching in his 20s, and today, in a month from now, I'll be 55. So I've been in the teaching for almost 30 years, right? Late 20s. And, I came back from California after a practitioner training there at Agape. I had a head full of science of mind and years of training under my belt. But I was so lost, and the struggles that I really went through were that, and luckily I had this loving, supporting woman by my side who let me be in my lostness, right? Just let me go through my process and never interfered, And but she's been such a grounding base for me to live life. And I need to just put this. I don't want to hold this. I talk with my hands. I'm Italian, maybe my last life. So, there we go. All right, you good?
Yeah.
All right, so she's been this grounding place, a very just practical and just living life, and then here I come with all this spiritual theories and ideologies, and this spiritual search. And my real struggle, as I look back on my life, is really something that I'm really trying to develop now as a book, and I've been sitting on for a while, called Embodying Spirit. It's like the science of mind teaching and a lot of spiritual traditions tells you like you're a finished package, basically. There's nothing, like you're perfect, right? Whole, complete. It's done, right? In the beginning, you're creating the image and likeness of. But then when I was going through my life, and I'm like, nothing matches that. I don't feel like that. So how do I like bridge this gap between what the spiritual teaching is telling me and what I feel at times to this life that I'm living out in the world? How do I bridge that? How do I bring that together? And so I'm in real estate, right? So real estate, it's like ground, it's earth, right? And here I am, like this spiritual thing. So like it's something I always seen, like this pattern of, in life I do real estate, which is like as earthy as it gets. And but I'm real, like I was real spiritual too, and I had this real spiritual like hunger and search early on in my life. And how do I integrate the truth too? How do I bring the spirit to the material? How do I integrate what I'm learning and what I know is true and what I'm experiencing glimpses of into this everyday reality of paying the bills and dealing with all these responsibilities and living in the world? And my name itself, Pankaj, right? Pankaj is like the lotus flower. And so the lotus flower, the essence of the lotus flower for me was, I don't even know where I got this from, but it was like being in the world but not of it. To be in this world but not to be of the world. And I think that's a big part of the spiritual journey, is to be in the world but not be so attached. Because the lotus flower, when you sprinkle the water, you ever see the lotus leaves and you sprinkle water, the water will never, it'll all beat up. It'll never it'll just rolls off. So I think that's why the lotus was always used as a very spiritual symbol in India, especially. Because it doesn't, it's like, I think there's an American saying about like letting the water roll off the duck's back or something, right? And that's about like living this life of spirituality, is like being in this world, doing the things that are practical. I had a very hard time, especially in my early days coming back from California, to like be involved with life and doing all the stuff, because I was just like so focused on my spirituality. But the more spiritual I got, the more lost I got in the world. So it took time for me to like start to really integrate the two. And I'm still not there. But like that's been my journey. And if I was going to give my last talk, I would talk about this whole thing of like trying to integrate, bring the two together, And it's a process, and it takes time, because you can start with an intellectual understanding, but intellectual understanding is useless. Working at the level of the mind itself is just like writing it with a sword in the ocean or in water. It doesn't last. Right? But everything starts with first an intellectual understanding, but it takes time to go from an intellectual understanding, to bring it into your heart, and then to embodying it, to getting it in your ear, to bringing the truth home. And so that's the process, going from head to heart to the body, to embodying spirit. And that's my work, embodying spirit. So 2 years ago, I got this download of embodying spirit. It all made sense at the time, and I was like, okay, so that's my work, right? And I've been sitting on it, but at the same time, it's like it's evolving. Now I've been brought back to it again. And it's this integration of, bringing heaven on earth, right? It's like living it, embodying it, not just talking about it, not just, being separated. Because the other thing I realized when I was on my journey at those days, back 20 some years ago, is that I was open at the top, closed at the bottom. Meaning that if you looked at my energetic system of my chakras and stuff, they're like I had this massive connection to the higher realm, But then when it comes down to the lower chakras, I was like so tight and closed. I wasn't, and then so it took time to open up, grounding and open up to embody. To bring this higher energy, this higher frequency into this container, into this vessel. And so it's just like, I use the analogy like computers. You can't put the latest software on a very old computer. So our body is like the hardware. If you're going to upgrade, I always say if you're going to upgrade the software, the consciousness, the operating system, you also have to work on the hardware. They both go hand in hand. They both have to evolve. You can't just have the new downloads in the operating system because it's just like this short, and then it's like we have to, it's like the preparation for the container, and everybody's got different theories of that, right? And I'm not here to espouse on any of those philosophies or theories, because most of it's nonsense anyway, to be honest with you. It's your own process, it's your own process. But the key thing out of all of it is making contact. Conscious contact, and that's what the topic was, making contact. That we initiate contact. And contact takes us into a space of that connection with our spirit, with our soul, with our divine self, that contact, initiating contact, sustaining that contact, and building upon that contact. That frequency then does the work. It's like Jesus said, it's the Father within that does the work. You're no longer doing the work. Your work is to make the contact. My work is to make the contact. Is to open to the contact. And then allow that from that place of contact to work. It happens, it evolves, it unfolds. It's not much more to it than that, in my opinion. Other than living life, and life will continue to give you your struggles and your lessons and everything else. But it's that contact, it's that sustaining the contact, building upon the contact, nurturing the contact, allowing what's within to unfold. It's the Father within that does the work. But I have to participate. Me as the human self, the personality self, the Pankaj self, I had to participate. I had to show up today, and I had to open myself to allow something to come through. And the better I am at getting myself out of the way, the more open channel it is. The other thing that I talk about is the 4 M's. You have the 4 stages of consciousness: the mortal, the metaphysician, the mystic, and the master. The mortal is not responsible for anything. Everything's happening to them. They're the victim. They play victimhood. It's always somebody else's fault. It's all about blame. It's all about giving your power away. The metaphysician are people start coming into some type of teaching where they're thinking about the mind and the power of their thoughts and co-creating with life. It's the metaphysician. The metaphysician starts to understand that when you think about something, you bring up what you think about. You bring about, right? But at a point, the metaphysician has to let go of control and surrender in order to become the mystic. Because it works until it doesn't work. Right? And the mystic is the channel, is the open channel. It's happening through them. It's not about control. It's not about manifesting the Ferrari. It's not about manifesting the house anymore. It's not about manifesting the relationship, which good luck at that one. When it comes to relationships, it's like, I had to become, I understood at a very age, I had to do the work on myself if I was going to manifest the relationship. Because I had to first get in a relationship with myself. I had to get good with myself, and then luckily I did something good because somebody showed up wonderful. I manifested the relationship. But I manifested it because I worked on me. I wasn't working on manifesting the relationship. So I had to work on me. And that's where I had that wrong. But, so I got it right. But, where was I get lost? The mystic, right? Okay, so it's surrender, being the channel. And then the mystic has to give up separation to become the master. That's that last thing of giving up separation. And the master creates something out of nothing. It's Christ consciousness. So, this is the process, and we all go through this process. This is the different levels. And look, I might be masterful one day for one moment and be a victim the other moment 5 minutes later. It's not like all of a sudden I'm in this one stage, but it's like more so understanding, like, who am I? Oh, I'm in victimhood. Am I blaming something? Am I blaming my wife again for something that I, whatever, it's like victimhood, blaming, but every time I'm blaming, I'm giving my power away. Every time I'm trying to control, and there's aspects of not one is better than, they're all necessity. They're all necessity. But the one thing that I wish I would, if I was going to go back to my 20-year-old or 25-year-old or whatever I was then, surrender is always going to be probably the most important principle you will ever learn, Pankaj. I remember talking to Reverend Carol one day, she's talking about a book, The Surrender Experiment. And me and my haughtiness, I was like, I don't read anything past 1920. If somebody didn't write it back in 1920, so I just not reading it, because it's just not giving me anything. The writers of today don't know anything, basically. Some kind of my arrogance, but now she probably laugh and chuckle like, what's this guy know, right? But the Surrender Experiment. So 6 years ago, I picked up the Surrender Experiment. I'm not much of a reader in the last decade, probably. But that was a book I finished from cover to cover. And Michael Singer, and I said, wow, this guy's a real living sage in this day and time. He's a real living sage. And he's friends with somebody that I studied with for years. I'm with this side as well, very good friends. And I've had the chance of meeting him 2 or 3 times after that, the reading of the book. Or seeing him, at a venue like this or something like that, not like, But like, so it's like the surrender, and like that taught me so much. And even today, like the process of coming here and showing up, and my head is saying, oh, you don't know what to say, you're gonna look stupid, surrender, accept, surrender, accept. And one of the greatest lessons in that book, I'll just never forget, the guy had this piece of land where he bought, and this is a true story of Michael Singer's life, supposedly, right? It's his autobiography, kind of. That's why I love it. There's something, that's why I talk about my real experience, because, excuse me, we can talk about philosophies and ideologies, but when you really share who you are and what you really go through, you can't help but to offer something that's valuable to people. But he went to Mexico, and he came back from Mexico, and he had bought this land, and somebody was camping out on his land in Florida. And the person went from camping out to like actually building a cabin on his land. And one of his friends was helping her to build this cabin. And he was so mad that this person would actually build a cabin on my land without my permission or anything. He's furious. And he walks back to his cabin, puts on he's a construction worker, he puts on his belt and goes over there and starts hammering nails with them. And that was like the biggest surrender, that I could imagine, to surrender, to just accept. Can you just accept what is? And this is so key in what, if we have time for meditation, I don't even know now at this point, I don't know how long. Can you just let things be as they are? And that's the thing about the control thing of the metaphysician. Like I was lost so much because I was always trying to I have to be the controller. Like it's because of my consciousness everything's happening. Can you just let go? Can you just let things be as they are? It's my judgments of how I think things should be that most remove me from peace. Can you just, and you see the feeling of acceptance and peace that just emanates just when you can just tell yourself, can you just let things be as they are? Everything is as it should be. Can you just let it be? And then what happens when you let go and surrender, you become one with everything. You're changing your own. Instead of separation, you're going from, and you're coming into the flow of life, you're coming into oneness and harmony, and then everything just unfolds for you, and through you, and as you. So, that's kind of do a little quick thing or something. I don't know. Short, John. If the music goes too loud, Steve, for me, distract me, and I'll just wave you down. So let's make some contact, and let's drink in the silence. Because when you make contact, real contact with the self, there's silence, there's stillness. So let's go from sound to silence, within sound. So as you close your eyes, just be with your breath. Breath is always the now. Breathing in. There we go, sorry. Breathing in, breathing out. earth is also synonymous with spirit in so many traditions. And then focus on the spiritual heart, the Hridaya, in the heart center, the center of your chest. Feel the soft, and strong pulsation of light at the heart center. In the Hridaya, seat of joy. And just invite your soul into the space and into the heart center. Feel the heart open up even more and radiate this light of soul. Feel a sense of expansion and release, a sense of comfort, universal love. To feel every atom and every aspect of your being. Allow this jewel in the heart center to just radiate, to transmit this light frequency out into the world. As you radiate this light, this love in the heart center, the center of your universe, feel a sense of expansion. Goodness. Allow your mind to rest in the heart center. Allow your mind, as the prodigal son, to come home to the Father. Surrendering the mind to the light of Spirit. Focusing inward on the I Am presence. Feeling, as the reading said, the I Am presence is flowing in and through you. So the body is just the vessel, but the light is eternal. Is endless. The light is infinite. It's the light of consciousness, the light of true spirit. And as you center your awareness on the light, start to let go even more. Just drink in the silence. We take a breath and do a couple of ohms together as we end this meditation. And last one. Shanti, 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 peace.